This video is brought to you by America First Insight. Help support the growing conservative movement by becoming a member today. And if you want to support this channel, you can also use the code REAL when becoming a member. Thank you and enjoy the video. So there's been a bunch of Democrats claiming that 2026 is going to be this historical blue wave. Democrats would take back not just the House, but the Senate because, yeah, they're that delusional. But I really want to talk about why 2026 is not going to be this blue wave like a lot of people think it is. Now, I want to be clear about one thing. I am not saying that Democrats are not going to retake the House or whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. When I say there won't be a blue wave, I'm not saying Democrats are going to lose everything. No. It just means that this idea that Democrats are going to have this historical year where they gain 50 seats in the House, they gain 10 Senate seats or whatever, I'm going to say that that's delusional. There is no way, as of now, that's going to happen. Could it theoretically happen where Democrats experience a resurgence and Democrats, or I should say Republicans, have a collapse? Yeah, we are a year out from the election, so anything could happen. But as of now, there's not a single metric you look at that indicates this magical blue wave. There's nothing. And in my opinion, a blue wave would be gaining like 30 seats in the House, gaining a couple Senate seats, flipping a bunch of gubernatorial elections, which could theoretically happen, yeah. But as of now, there's nothing to indicate that. It's like saying 2022 was a red wave because Republicans took back the House. Yeah, they took back the House by like 5 seats or whatever. It was a small majority. It was pathetic. It was a big underperformance. That's not a red wave. Was it a red-leaning environment? Yeah. It swung Republican, sure. That doesn't mean it's a wave year. Alright, that's what people understand. Just because Republicans took back the House in 22, that's not really a red wave. A red wave would have been 20 or 30 House seats they've gained, and they took back the Senate by 2 seats or whatever. They did nothing like that. In fact, they lost Senate seats in 22. Is that a red wave? So yeah, right now, I don't think there's a single indicator right now that indicates this magical 10-point shift in the generic ballot, Democrats gaining 20 seats in the House or 30 seats. They might retake the majority, but we'll get to a little bit why that might be difficult. But let's start with all the metrics we can look at right now and see how things are trending. And the number one metric that I like using is voter registration. Now, I've said this many times before, but voter registration is not perfect. It can be misleading. It's like with Kentucky, for example. Yeah, Republicans are gaining a bunch of voters there, but is that because of Republicans surging there, or is it because of Democrats becoming Republicans? That's where it can be misleading. But, okay, if it's one state that's looking bad for Democrats, that's one thing. Look at this map here. This is the swing in voter registration from 2020 to 2024. Notice anything? Democrats collapsed everywhere, not just in deep Democrat or deep Republican states like Kentucky or California. No, look at swing states. Look at Nevada. Look at Arizona. Look at Pennsylvania. Iowa used to be a swing state. North Carolina, Florida. Look at this. Democrats collapsed everywhere. And this metric has gotten even worse. This is just 2024. Since 2024, Republicans have flipped North Carolina. They're about to flip Pennsylvania. They keep surging in Florida, Arizona, Nevada. So yeah, this right here is the number one reason why I don't think there's going to be this magical blue wave. Because if there was a wave year building, we would see something in voter registration somewhere. In fact, we're seeing the opposite occur. We're seeing Democrats sink even further, while Republicans, despite being relatively speaking unpopular, are actually gaining more voters. Now, yeah, every once in a while, you do have Democrats do okay in a week in, say, Pennsylvania. Like, I think last week they gained like 100 voters or whatever or something. But outside of that, it's been consistently Republicans gaining every single week. Once in a while, yeah, Democrats gain for a week or two, but it goes back to the usual trend of Republicans surging. That's the number one problem. If Democrats had reversal here in any state, like, I don't know, Florida, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, anywhere, I would be saying, okay, it seems like they've stopped the bleeding for now, but there's been nothing like this whatsoever. There has been no surge for Republic or Democrats everywhere. It's been the opposite. In fact, they're doing so badly that even states like New Mexico are becoming more Republican. That's not good for Dems. So that's the number one issue right now. Voter registration, not everything, of course. It can be misleading, like in 22. Yeah, Republicans gained in voter registration, but it really didn't translate to a red wave. But still, it indicated states like Florida would have a red wave. It still indicated that, yeah, Republicans did okay. They did better than 2020 or 2020 in all these areas. But, okay, voter registration, that's just one metric. What everyone is looking at is the generic ballot, because right now, according to RCP, the generic ballot is D+4. And this is a big swing from 2020, or 2024, I should say. Republicans won it by like 2 points. I think they got like 49.8% or whatever. They barely were below 50 or right above 50. I can't remember. But still, they had the generic ballot won in 24. And according to polling right now, it looks like Democrats are going to win the generic ballot. But there are some big catches to this. For starters, look at some of these polls. They're showing Democrats with this insane lead. Look at Yahoo News, D+7. According to them, Republicans are only getting 39% of the vote. YouGov, same deal, 39%, which, by the way, YouGov and Yahoo News, they're the same pollster. They both use YouGov. It's just the same data, just weighed slightly differently. But oh, they both found Democrats at like 46 to 44%, while Republicans are 39%. I don't care who you are, Republicans are not at 39% of the vote right now. That's delusional. So that's the first issue. Some of these polls, they're huge outliers. Like Atlas Intel, I have no clue what happened to them. They've lost it. Yahoo News, they've always been shitty. Even The Economist, they've been very shitty. So yeah, right now, some of the polls in the average, it's D+3, D+4. And the good ones, they do show a generic ballot of roughly D+1 through D+3, like Quantus Insights, a very good pollster. Right now, they have Democrats winning the generic ballot by 3%. Okay, that's pretty solid. Okay, like Democrats, that is a 5 to 6 point swing from 2024. But is that enough to win the House back? That's the aspect of this that no one's talking about. Is a 6 point shift big enough to retake the House? I don't know. It's going to be very close. But let's just say right now it's D+3, D+4. In that scenario, more than likely, you barely retake the House. You get like a 5 to 6 seat majority, maybe. Because a lot of these districts that Republicans have to lose in, outside of maybe Don Bacon and Michael Lawler, it's like R+10, R+5, R+6. And Democrats have to flip like 10 of them or whatever. And we're not even factoring in redistricting, which are going to make some of these seats in Texas, Florida, Ohio, even more Republican, and they're going to probably flip. So they have to flip all these seats to barely get a majority, and they have to hold on to a bunch more. They have to somehow not collapse in Texas, which you're going to lose like 4 or 5 seats there. They're going to lose 3 or 4 in Florida. And even without redistricting, there are a bunch of seats right now that Democrats won in 2024 that Trump won. There's like 12 or 15 Trump districts that are represented right now by Democrats. Right now, there's only like 2 or 3 Republicans that are in Harris districts. See the problem here? And that's before redistricting, of course, a lot could happen, but still. That's the problem. They need to gain so many seats in the House just to counteract Texas, Florida, Ohio, and they have to make sure Jared Golden doesn't lose in Maine. Make sure that Perez doesn't lose in Washington. they have to hold on to so many seats and flip a bunch more just to get a small majority. So a D+3 environment, it might be enough to take back the House, sure. But is that enough to have a huge majority? I don't think so. I really don't think that's enough to retake this huge 40-seat majority. And on top of that, that's assuming that's what the generic ballot is in 2026. Yeah, it could possibly be D+8, sure. But here's the thing about the generic ballot. We actually have a track record as to how the generic ballot looks in August of the year before the election compared to election day. We have 2022 and 2018 to look at. And look at this. Right now, the generic ballot, according to RCP, even with some of those shitty polls, is D+4. Okay, we'll just round up. D+4. And Democrats right now are at 46%. That's an important number. Look at 2022, okay? In August of 2022, or 2021, I should say, Democrats led at the same time, all right, back in 21, by 2.5%. We'll just round up to 3%, and look at what percent of the vote Democrats were getting. 46%. Yeah. Right now, the polls, as of now for the generic ballot, look nearly identical to what happened in 22. Now, does this mean we're going to have an R+3 environment? Maybe not. I'm not saying that. But at the same time, compare that to 2018, which was a blue wave. And in August of 2017, gotta pull this up right here. In August 2017, Democrats led by roughly 9%. But look at the percent of the vote Democrats were getting. 48%. At the same point. Republicans were not even at 40%. So right now, compared to 2018, I should say 2017, Democrats are down 2.5%, while Republicans are up by 3%. That's the last blue wave. 2018 was. And 2022, which was a Republican environment barely, they are actually pulling nearly identical to what they are pulling to right now. It's nearly the same numbers. The only difference really is Republicans are doing slightly worse. They're doing a point worse compared to 21. Democrats are doing doing the exact same. In the last blue wave they had, they're actually doing worse. So that's the history. The generic ballot right now is not indicating a record-breaking blue tsunami. They're going to gain 50 seats in the House. There's nothing indicating that. And let's keep going. Let's look at Trump's job approval. Right now it's -5, which, yeah, it's below water. But I made a whole video on this. You have shitty pollsters like Reuters, YouGov, Pew Research, Yahoo News. Again, Yahoo News and The Economist, they're the same pollster. They just weigh it slightly differently. They have Trump down by 10, 11, 14, 22 points. Yes, you have a big outlier and insider advantage. But in my opinion, that counters the bullshit from Pew Research. Not even. Pew Research is claiming he's below water by 22 points. So you take out these huge outliers, Trump's approval right now would be closer to like -2, -3, like I've been saying for a while. Compare that to his first term. Nobody wants to talk about this. In August of 2017, when Democrats had this huge lead in the generic ballot, Trump's approval rating was -17. Not -7, -17. Now, in 2017, there were some big outliers as well, but still, Trump was underwater by a lot, according to every pollster. Right? He was underwater by 10 to 15 points in 2017. That's not the same case right now. In fact, it's the opposite. The opposite's occurring. Trump right now, yeah, he's below water, but by 5 points. And that's if you factor in the shitty Pew Research poll. If you take that one out, which claims that, oh, a third of Trump voters hates Trump's guts now and all these young people are bailing on him, if you take that big outlier out, you're talking about -2, -3. And that's with everything that happened. And that's with the Epstein stuff. That's with the war in Israel. That's when Trump should be at his lowest point. But guess what? That never happened. There wasn't this 15-point swing overnight except for Pew Research. That only pollster find that, by the way. Pew Research, the only one to find this 10-point shift overnight. It's kind of an exaggeration, but still, you get the point that right now, Trump's approval is significantly higher than what it was back in 2017. And a reminder, just like I was saying, there's a lot of big outliers, and Trump's approval every year in his presidency was always understated. Every year. So right now, Trump being a -5, yeah, that's decent for Democrats, but compared to 2017, that's actually a disaster. It's roughly 10 to 12 points better. And compare that to President Obama, who in 2013 was at roughly a -6, -7. Actually doing worse than Trump. So Trump right now is about a point or two more popular than Obama was in 2013. All right, several points better. And this is with the polls with Pew Research. He's like 10 points higher than Bush in 2005. But you're going to tell me with a straight face that there's signs of this magical blue wave building? Could it happen? Sure, I'm not denying that. I'm not saying there's not going to be a blue wave for sure. But as of now, there's no metric to indicate this. And even the polls people are showing, it's actually not that good for Dems. Yeah, they're going to probably win the House, sure. Is that a blue wave, though? No. There's not a single metric. Even direction of country, yeah, it's fallen a little bit, but still, Trump, the wrong track, right direction is still at -12. Compare that to Trump's first term in August, -28. So it's, again, another 15-point shift. We'll see what happens. A lot could change, but right now, the polling is indicating, if the polls are correct, if there's no miss whatsoever, which I think there will be a Democrat getting the House. Sure, go ahead. But that doesn't mean there's going to be a magical 15, 20-point swing. Democrats retake the House and the Senate. That's what Democrats are claiming. Could it theoretically happen? Of course. But anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.